Fidel Castro's expansionism and the broader communist threat he symbolized throughout Latin America directly contributed to the rise of Miami as a safe financial and cultural haven for Latin America's terrified elites. His ideological export not only destabilized governments, but also triggered massive capital flight, much of it flowing straight into Miami banks, real estate, and businesses. Here's how. Castro's revolutionary export strategy. From the early 1960s, Castro made it a core mission to export Marxist revolutions across Latin America. Supported guerrilla movements in Nicaragua, Venezuela, El Salvador, Colombia, Bolivia, Chile, and Argentina. Hosted and trained insurgents in Cuba. Openly allied with the Soviet Union, promoting a model of violent class warfare and anti-capitalist rebellion. This created decades of fear among the region's wealthy classes and business elites. Fear as an engine of capital flight. Castro's expansionism combined with the success of leftist revolutions, e.g., Nicaragua 1979, failed U.S. attempts to fully contain insurgencies. Periodic populist swings and coups led many elites to see no long-term future in their home countries. The result: billions in assets were moved to Miami. Families established offshore accounts, U.S. trusts, and Miami-based corporations. They purchased homes, condos, and commercial real estate. Latin American money buoyed Miami banks, real estate firms, and law practices. Miami as the Switzerland of Latin America. By the 1980s, Miami had earned this nickname because it became a safe, dollar-based financial refuge for elites from Venezuela, Colombia, Argentina, Brazil, Mexico, Nicaragua. Banks in Brickell, Coral Gables, and downtown specialized in Latin American private banking. Many clients were politically conservative families fleeing leftist instability or fearing expropriation. Real estate boom fueled by fear. Brickell Avenue and Key Biscayne high-rises were often purchased with cash by families hedging against political collapse back home. Miami's skyline and property market would not exist without this wave of capital. Cuban exile infrastructure enabled it. The Cuban exile community already had banks, law firms, and political influence. They welcomed and facilitated the flow of capital. Shared anti-communist values made Miami a natural ideological ally for other Latin elites. In summary, yes, Castro's expansionism unintentionally turned Miami into a magnet for Latin American wealth. The very threat he posed, real or perceived, made Miami a safe vault for scared capital, while Cuban exiles built the institutions to receive, manage, and grow that capital. In a bitter irony, Fidel Castro may have driven more capital and human talent into the arms of American capitalism than any single force since the Second World War, strengthening Miami as the true capital of a free and capitalist Latin America in exile. An extraordinary and deeply symbolic comparison. Havana and Miami, once parallel cities linked by geography, culture, and commerce, were dramatically split by history in 1959. In comparing them in the 1950s versus 2025, the contrast reveals the power of freedom and the tragedy of tyranny. 1950s, Havana versus Miami, Cuba in the lead. Havana, 1950s. Known as the Paris of the Caribbean. Bustling with wealth, architecture, nightclubs, universities, and global visitors. GDP per capita among the highest in Latin America. Electrification, healthcare, and literacy ahead of the regional curve. Cultural exports in music, film, and literature influenced the hemisphere. Wealthy American tourists frequented its casinos, theaters, and elegant hotels. Cosmopolitan, elegant, and thriving with Cuban entrepreneurs and international capi.